Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise, get straight to the insights, and today we're plunging into a city many think they know, Sacramento, California. For some, it's the state capital, etched in gold rush history, maybe known for good schools, relatively affordable homes, and yeah, the Sacramento Kings, of course. But our sources today, they really pull back the curtain, paint a much richer and sometimes starker picture. We've gathered a pretty unique collection, actually. There's this raw hood tour video, guided by a local rapper. We've also got hard-hitting news reports, like one on a fatal hit and run, plus the unfiltered honesty you find in music lyrics, and even a documentary looking into the city's, well, entrenched gang activity. So our mission here, to peel back those surface perceptions of Sacramento, to really try and uncover the complex realities of life in places like South Sacramento, an area some people actually call South Sac Rock. We want to understand it through the eyes of those who live it. Connecting individual stories to those bigger, broader societal challenges.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's really designed to show you how these seemingly different sources can actually come together, how they illuminate different facets of a city, of its communities. We'll be exploring everything from, really personal struggles and powerful artistic expression right through to the systemic challenges shaping daily life there. It gives you a truly multidimensional view.
Okay, so let's start there with that initial perception. Because on paper, Sacramento, it does look pretty appealing, right?
Pardon?
Especially compared to maybe other parts of California. It's the capital, you've got the gold rush history. It boasts good schools, those more affordable homes,
And the Kings.
the energy they bring.
Exactly. It sounds, well, like a solid place to settle down.
Yeah, but what's immediately striking is how quickly that official narrative gets challenged as soon as you dig just a little.
Wow.
A quick look online, and like one of our sources puts it, the net says otherwise.
Oh, interesting. What does it say? Well, Google searches, they reveal that Sacramento's violent crime rate is notably higher than the national average. So that creates this immediate tension, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
A
does.
stark contrast between,
Yeah.
the perception of this comfortable capital city and the on-the-ground reality for a lot of residents.
And to really get that on the ground reality, we're going straight to a direct voice from the heart of it. Our guide for part of this journey is Mac Moo. He's an artist, also known as the biggest cactus in recorded history. Bit of a name.
Ah, yeah.
And he's giving us this raw, unfiltered tour through South Sacramento, his home. So that nickname, South Sac Iraq, it implies something pretty intense, right? Like a war zone,
Yeah.
almost. What does Mac Moo actually tell us about what life is like growing up there? What's behind that name?
Well, he describes a life where he's, and this is his words, seen it all and seemingly been through it all. Okay, he recounts this really harrowing experience, said he was hella close to dying after being shot.
Oh.
Yeah. Suffered internal bleeding. And he's actually still recovering. Ongoing doctor's appointments, physical therapy, surgeries. But he keeps all of that hidden, away from the public eye.
He keeps it hidden.
Yeah. Which speaks to this incredible, almost private resilience,
Yeah.
But that hidden recovery, it tells its own story, doesn't it? About the constant sort of underlying toll of living in that environment.
That is a powerful detail. The hidden recovery, it's like a testament to strength, but also this constant unseen burden. So how does that constant danger, how does it show up in the immediate, like the daily dangers Mac Moo describes? Just trying to navigate the streets?
He's incredibly blunt about it, just states it plainly. You don't want to be here. This ain't a good place to be. And then he gives this stark warning that really cuts through. Catch you walking Swiss cheese boy, you're out of here.
Whoa, Swiss cheese boy, that's vivid.
It really underscores a very real, almost existential threat of violence. It just permeates daily life there.
So given that persistent danger you just laid out, does Mac Moo feel like life in South Sac is like more dangerous now compared to when he was a kid, maybe?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He makes that observation. Says back in the day we used to walk to the store, simple things.
Right.
But now, you can't walk nowhere now.
Mm.
He really emphasizes the dramatically increased danger, the need to know how to move, keep your head on a swivel, always.
So that casual stroll, just popping to the shops, that's just gone.
Pretty much seems like it, which is a profound shift,
Mm.
a loss of that simple daily freedom for residents.
And what about the basics, like cost of living, housing? Sacramento is often seen as more affordable than, say, the Bay Area. What's the reality in these neighborhoods Mac Moo shows us?
Well, it probably is better than the Bay Area cost-wise. But Mac Moo describes these low-budget apartments, says some residents are paying as little as maybe $200 up to $600 through Section 8 or other vouchers.
Okay.
And yeah, he mentions the roaches too. Kind of unavoidable, it sounds like.
Right. Part of the package sometimes in low-budget places.
Yeah. Yet, despite these pretty challenging conditions, he says he feels comfortable in the trenches.
Comfortable in the trenches.
Yeah, which highlights this deep sense of belonging, maybe even a kind of safety within his community, despite how dangerous it might look from the outside.
That comfort, that's really telling, isn't it? Suggests a strong internal cohesion, maybe. What's the community fabric like there in South Sac? How do people actually connect and sustain themselves beyond just, surviving?
Well, he talks about being raised by strong women. His grandmas, especially, played a huge part in his life.
Okay.
And the area itself is incredibly diverse. You've got black residents, Mexican, Hindu, some white residents too. And he says they generally get along without major race tension, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It feels like a testament to the fact that, despite the hardship, there's still this foundation of mutual support, acceptance, maybe.
So, given those constant dangers we talked about, how do people find ways to connect, find joy, even in that kind of environment?
They seem remarkably resilient and proactive about it. He says they create their own fun.
Like how?
Well, he points to things like bowling, Topgolf,
Yeah.
activities outside the immediate neighborhood, showing there are outlets.
Okay.
But, maybe more importantly, the strongest connections seem to be built just through that shared experience. Growing up in the same neighborhoods, go to the same schools, that shared history, that proximity, it forges really deep, lasting bonds.
It sounds like music then has become a pretty significant path forward for Macmu personally. What was his journey like? You mentioned he didn't take it seriously at first.
Yeah, he's quite open about that. Admits he never took music seriously initially, just dropping tracks on SoundCloud. And he see no paper, as he puts it. He wasn't really motivated just by the art itself.
Right.
But then when he saw he could actually earn money, like getting, say, $500 to buy some shoes, that tangible financial incentive, that changed everything for him.
Ah, okay. The practical side kicked in.
Exactly. That, he says, was what pushed him to stay in the studio. And he's built up a significant catalog since then. It really underscores how economic opportunity can be such a powerful driver for artistic pursuits, especially in challenging environments.
Were there other artists, maybe local ones from the Sacramento scene, who influenced him, inspired him to be consistent?
Yeah, definitely. He points to an artist named Briss. He says Briss was a big part of his consistency, especially when Briss himself was going through some challenges. And he also shouts out the legendary duo of Griebin and Briss. Their song 1043, he says it's a classic in Sacramento music.
Okay, so there's a local lineage there.
For sure. It shows how local artists can really inspire and push each other, even when things are tough.
So with all these experiences you've laid out, the danger, the community, the music, how does Macmu's music actually reflect his life? How does the art illuminate the reality for us?
Well, his lyrics are incredibly direct, raw, really. In his song Painkillers, for instance, he talks explicitly about struggles like having withdrawals from them painkillers.
Wow, that's personal.
Very. And losing his uncle, living the street life, it's all there. But he also consciously uses his music, he says, to turn something negative into a positive, to bring light to the community.
So it's a form of transformation for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A powerful act of transformation.
Yeah.
And he also aims to be versatile, not just pigeonholed as a drill rapper. Shows his ambition, I think, to transcend those limitations often placed on artists from his kind of background.
Okay, so building on that personal story, let's broaden out a bit. Our sources reveal Sacramento has this long, often difficult history with gang activity, described as a hotspot for decades. What are some of the major players in that landscape, and what do their deep roots tell us about the city's ongoing challenges?
Well, the primary gangs mentioned are the Oak Park Bloods, the Strawberry Manor Gangster Bloods, and the Broderick Boys. The Oak Park Bloods, for example, they were founded way back in 1980 by a guy named Nigel Collins.
1980.
Yeah, and their origins trace back to people migrating from Los Angeles, right, during the big drug epidemic. And this isn't just like a historical footnote, right? It's a stark illustration of how these external crises, like the drug epidemic, they can reshape communities. They can create this vacuum that new social structures, sometimes gangs, step in to fill.
That points to a deeper societal challenge, then.
Absolutely. How do we prevent these historical vulnerabilities from continuing to fuel these cycles of violence? It's a huge question. And the Oak Park Bloods, they have subsets, too, like the 4th Avenue Bloods. They call them FAB.
Fab. Okay.
Yeah, and 33rd Street, 12th Avenue Bloods. They often identify with this numeric code, 612.
612. Got it. And what kinds of crimes are these gangs typically involved in? It sounds like it goes way beyond just, street fights.
Oh, far beyond. Their activities include really violent crimes, like deletions. That's their chilling term for homicide.
Deletions.
Yeah. Along with drug trafficking, robbery, numerous firearm offenses. That term alone, delicious, speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the kind of dehumanization that can happen in these environments. It's not just a crime, it's like a profound detachment from human life.
Chilling is the right word. So, what have the authorities, law enforcement, done to try and curb this? There must have been major efforts against such entrenched crime.
Oh, definitely. There have been major crackdowns, resulting in numerous arrests, indictments, seizures of weapons, narcotics. There was one Operation Challenger, that specifically targeted the Strawberry Manor gangster Bloods.
Okay.
And across various operations, they've confiscated over 125 firearms, many of them assault weapons.
125. That's a lot of firepower off the street.
It is. And law enforcement has even used confidential informants in drug trafficking investigations to try and build cases. Shows the lengths they go to.
So it sounds like law enforcement has really mounted significant efforts. I mean, those seizure numbers are impressive. And yet the cycle of violence seems to persist, right? From what we've heard. What does that suggest about the limits of just focusing on enforcement? What else might be needed to break these really deep-rooted cycles?
That's such a crucial question, isn't it? The fact that the violence persists despite these crackdowns, it strongly suggests that while enforcement is, necessary, it's just not sufficient on its own. These are complex social problems. They have deep historical roots, as we discussed.
Right.
Arrests can disrupt things, sure, but they don't necessarily address the underlying conditions that lead people into gang life in the first place, or, prevent new generations from getting drawn in.
Are there specific incidents you came across that really illustrate the devastating human impact? We've heard the broad strokes, but are there stories that really hit home?
Yeah, there are. The tragic death of 17-year-old J.J. Clavo back in 2015, that's a really stark example.
Good to him.
He was a promising football player at Grant High, shot and killed in what was described as a gang-motivated, unprovoked, and premeditated ambush by someone affiliated with the Strawberry Manor Bloods. It's devastating.
Unprovoked, 17 years old. Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. And then there was another incident back in 2007. An Amtrak engineer, Jacob Keating, was seriously injured during an ambush by members of the Broderick Boys. And even more recently, just last year, the homicide of a Sacramento rapper, Delvin Fields, known as AZ Snubs.
Easy snubs.
Yeah. And what's notable there is that he was apparently a primary target of gang investigations himself. So these aren't just, statistics. They're lives. Lives cut short, lives forever altered. It really highlights the very personal toll of this systemic issue.
And we see these realities kind of bleeding into everyday life, too, don't we? Like that news report you mentioned about the deadly hit and run. How does that connect?
Exactly. That fatal hit and run where a woman was just left dead on Fruit Ridge Road near the light rail tracks. It happened in an area that police had completely blocked off. It just underscores that this isn't some abstract gang activity happening in isolated corners. The high stakes, the pervasive presence of crime and danger, it can manifest even in these seemingly random incidents, affecting regular citizens just going about their lives. It's woven into the fabric of the community's reality, unfortunately.
Yet, despite all these challenges, Mahmoud seems to hold on to this real desire for positive change, not just for himself, but for his whole community. What are his hopes? What does he envision for the future there?
He genuinely believes in trying to better the situation and better the people. That's his focus. He expresses this personal commitment to seeing everybody win. Says there should be no competition.
There's competition even after everything.
Yeah, and even goes as far as saying he doesn't want to see his worst enemy in jail.
Wow. That's quite something.
It's a surprising, almost deeply empathetic perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially given his experiences. It highlights this profound desire for, collective upliftment, not retribution.
That is remarkable, almost counterintuitive coming from someone who's lived through so much hardship. So what kind of advice does he offer the young people, the youth in his community, to try and guide them towards a different path?
His core advice is really practical, very direct. It's stay in school, stay in sports.
Simple, but powerful.
Yeah. He emphasizes that these are the tangible ways to make it out this mother, as he puts it. And he specifically mentions D1 scholarships, sees them as a clear, achievable path towards generational wealth.
Okay, so offering a concrete alternative.
Exactly. A
Okay.
powerful and concrete alternative to the street life that can trap so many young people. And if we just, connect this back to the bigger picture for a second, despite all those intensive law enforcement efforts we talk about, that cycle of gang violence, it persists. And this really highlights the urgent need for a crucial balance, a balance between the strict enforcement, which has its place, and proactive preventative measures.
Right. What kind of preventative measures?
Things like youth intervention programs, educational initiatives, rehabilitation efforts. Because the ultimate goal, really, it should be to prevent future generations from being drawn into gang life in the first place,
Yeah.
rather than just reacting to the violence after it happens.
What a journey we've taken through Sacramento today. We've definitely gone beyond that surface image, revealed a city of really profound contrasts, I think, where that pursuit of opportunity, that community resilience, it exists right alongside these significant challenges, these dangers. It's a city where hope and hardship really do seem to stand side by side.
It really makes you consider, doesn't it? What does it truly mean to support a community? Not just, from the outside looking in, but by really understanding and maybe amplifying the voices and the realities of those people striving to turn something negative into a positive right there within it. Makes you think.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really encourage you to keep exploring the complexities of the world around you, one deep dive at a time.
Yes, only thing that I'm worried about, punch one of these pussy ass niggas in they mouth. Then they film and they'll upload. The suckers do anything for that clout. They'll trick you out of your position if you ain't gained up and you ain't here watching out. Internet bloggers, internet gangsters, who the snitches? I can't tell. On the dead homies and enemies podcast, the only podcast that I won't tell. But I ain't tripping, I just pay attention to my own little business and I get the smell. I'm in another state, making another plate. Big plat place on my state. A plush hotel, just counting mail. I do this shit and I do it well. Doing a